Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. The name is Harry Crease and today we're going to be starting Book 3, The Forest of Doom. Now, if you haven't seen any of the Fighting Fantasy game book series before that I've played for, I'd really recommend you watching the first ever book that I've gone through, which is Book 1, The Warlock of Firetop Mountain. Especially in that book, I go through the rules in specific detail on what the Fighting Fantasy game book series is, why I love them so much. But to give you a very, very brief overview, the Fighting Fantasy game book series is essentially a book where you are the hero, you have to choose your own choices, and depending on which choices you choose, you have a different book experience. And there is routes whereby you can fall, you can fail, and you have to restart the book or go to a previous bookmark. And the aim of the book is to achieve the goal, save the day, save the world or the town or vice versa. Without further ado, let's go and start the Forest of Doom. This is the part 1 where I read the background of the story, the premise, we roll our stats, our skill, stamina and luck, and we get our equipment, and then we go from there. Alright, so let's start the Forest of Doom, and let's resume. So I won't read the first section so much. I always go for the adventurer mode, which is essentially how the book is meant to be designed. So I'll click the adventurer mode. So we've got to roll 2 dice here, and essentially this is where we calculate our stamina. I'll read the paragraph briefly here. Your stamina score reflects your general constitution, your will to survive, your determination and overall fitness. The higher your stamina score, the longer you will be able to survive. You must roll 2 dice and add 12 to the number rolled. So let's see how well we roll then. So let's roll the dice. Respectable. We got a double 4 there, so we got a roll of 8, lucky number 8. Plus 12, that it means our stamina is just above average, so around 20 stamina points. Next is our skill. Your skill reflects your swordsmanship and general fighting expertise. The higher the better. So we've got to roll 1 die and add 6 to the number. Wow, there we are. The roll of 6 plus a base of 6 means your skill is 12. Excellent, let's continue. Now our luck. Your luck score indicates how naturally lucky a person you are. Luck and magic are facts of life in the fantasy kingdom you are about to explore. Your starting luck is determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6. So let's roll our luck then. Wow, this is incredibly lucky. We've got a 6 again, so plus 6 we've got max luck 12 and max skill 12. In addition to your other starting equipment, you may take 1 bottle of a magical potion which will aid you on your quest. Each potion contains enough for 1 measure, so use it wisely. The potion of skill and the potion of strength respectively will restore skill and stamina points if lost. The potion of fortune, however, will add 1 additional luck point, as well as restoring our luck points as well. So in effect we can get a max luck score of 13 if we do drink the potion of fortune, whereas the others would just restore it to the max health, which for us is 20 for the strength and 12 for the skill. So I think we should take the potion of fortune because we tend to start with, on these books, 10 provisions which each restore 4 stamina points per health bar. So let's restore the potion. Let's get the potion of fortune. So next is our adventurer's equipment. You begin your adventure with a sword, leather armor, a backpack containing provisions, food and drink to sustain your journey ahead. Each meal restores 4 stamina points, so make sure to pay close attention to your stamina and restore it regularly. We can eat these at any point in the story except during combat when we face creatures or something or other. Your difficulty setting determines how many provisions you start with. As we are in adventurer mode, the normal mode, we start with 10 provisions. During our quest, you may encounter characters and items that alter your 3 scores: stamina, skill, and luck. Usually these scores may only ever be restored to their initial amount. On very rare occasions, however, a particular page may grant an effect that defies this rule. Aside from these occasions, some magic items may also allow you to exceed your initial scores. Once you have readied your equipment, you may begin. May the luck of the gods go with you on the adventure ahead. So this is where the background is now read. I'll read the background of the story. And yeah, let's see how we fare in the Forest of Doom, Book 3. Okay. Oh, by the way, guys, if you haven't already got yourself a drink or made yourself comfortable, I will do so now, because this will be the beginning of the book. You are an adventurer, a sword for hire, and have been roaming the northern borderlands of your kingdom. Having always spurned the dullness of village life, you now want the lands in search of wealth and danger. Despite the long walks and rough outdoor life, you are content with your unknown destiny. The world holds no fears for you as you are a skillful warrior, well practiced in the art of slaying evil people and beasts with your trusty sword. Not once during the last 10 days since entering the northern borderlands have you set eyes upon another person. This does not worry you at all, as you are happy with your own company and enjoy the slow, sunny days hunting, eating and sleeping. It is evening and have feasted on a dinner of rabbit, spit roasted on an open fire. You settle down to sleep beneath your sheepskin blanket. There's a full moon and the light sparkles on the blade of your broadsword, skewered into the ground by your side. You gaze at it, wondering when you will have next to wipe the blood off some vile creature from its sharp edge. These are strange lands, inhabited by weird and loathsome beasts, goblins, trolls, and even dragons. As the flame of the campfire gently dies, you begin to drift asleep, and images of screaming, grain-faced trolls flicker through your mind. Suddenly, in the bushes to your left, you hear a loud crack of a twig breaking under a clumsy foot. You leap up and grab your sword from the ground. You stand motionless, but alert, ready to pounce on your unseen adversary. Then you hear a groan, followed by a dull thud of a body falling to the ground. Is it a trap? Slowly you walk over to the bush, where the noise is coming from, and carefully pull back the branches. You look down to see a little old man with a great bushy beard, his face contorted with pain. You crouch down to remove the iron helmet covering his balding head, and notice 2 crossbow bolts protruding from the stomach of his plump, chainmail clad torso. Picking him up, you carry him over to the fire and stir the dying embers into life. After covering him with the sheepskin blanket, you manage to get the old man to drink a little water. He coughs and moans. He sits up rigid, eyes staring fixedly ahead, and starts to shout, "Ah, get them! Ah, get them! Don't you fear, Gillibrun. Big Leg is coming to bring you the hammer." "Oh yes, indeed I am, oh yes." The dwarf, whose name you presume is to be Big Leg, is obviously delirious from the poison-tipped bolts lodged in its stomach. You watch as he slumps down again to the ground, then whisper his name in his ear. His eyes stare unblinkingly at you, as he again starts to shout, "Ambush! Look out, ambush! Ah! The hammer! Take the hammer to Gillibrand! Save the dwarfs!" I think it's Gillibrand, the pronunciation actually. His eyes half close and the pain seems to ease a little, and as the delirium subsides, he speaks to you again in a low whisper. "Help us, friend. Take the hammer to Gillibrand. Only the hammer will unite our people against the trolls. We were on our way to Darkwood in search of the hammer. Ambushed by the little people, others killed. The map in my pouch will take you to the home of your Stromo, the master mage in these parts. He has great magics for sale to protect you against the creatures of Darkwood. Take my gold. I beg you to find the hammer and take it to Gillibrand. Quick, my lord of Stonebridge. You'll be well rewarded." Big Leg opens his mouth to start another sentence, but nothing comes out except his last dying breath. You sit down and ponder Big Leg's words. Who was Gillibrand? Who is your Stromo? What is all the fuss about this dwarvish hammer? You reach over to the still body of Big Leg and remove the pouch from the leather belt around his waist. Inside you find 30 gold pieces and indeed a map. So we've got 30 gold pieces. That's quite a lot of money, you know, especially in this fantasy world that we are in at the moment, especially if you've read the previous 2 books. Now I'll let you read the map quickly here. So that's the map that Big Leg had in his person. We've got a storm bridge at the north, your Stromo's tower to the far south, hills to the east, a footpath as well to the east, and a river cutting across the halfway point of the forest. You decide to try and find the hammer in Darkwood Forest. It has been a few weeks since your last good battle, and what is more, you are likely to be well paid for this one. Jingling the coins in your hand, you may think of the possible rewards which may await you just for returning a hammer to a village of dwarfs. With your mind made up, you settle down to sleep, having taken back the sheepskin blanket from poor Bigleg. In the morning, you bury the old dwarf and gather up your possessions. You examine the map, look up to the sun, and find your bearings. Whistling merrily, you head off south at a good pace, eager to meet this man, your Stromo, and see what he has to offer. I'll turn over. So, the background has been complete. Let's see what fate stores for us. I'll quickly do a save here for entry level 1. So this is Stromo's tower entrance. Quite nice architecturally. You've got the trees in the background and the dense, you can see the dense trees and the trunks there, can't you? The archway's nice, and you've got like a fire flame at the top of that door ridge there. And it's almost like you've got snakes around the top there. Very interesting. Loads of unique symbols. Very wizardy. Your walk to your Stromo's takes a little over half a day, as you arrive at his stone tower dirty and hungry. As the tower is set back on the edges of the Darkwood, some 50 metres from the path you've been following, it is difficult to find. Finally, you walk up to the huge oak door, somewhat relieved to find that it does exist and that Bigleg had not been speaking wildly in his delirium. A large brass bell and gong hang from the stone archway rather. As you ring the bell, a shiver runs down your spine, and you realise that the loud bong invades a deep silence, which you had not noticed before. There are no sounds of birds or animals to be heard. You wait anxiously at the door, and hear slow footsteps descending the stairs from the tower above. A small wooden slot in the door slides, and 2 eyes appear and examine you. "Well, who are you?" demands a grumpy voice through the hole. You answer that you are an adventurer in search of the Master Mage Stromo, intending to purchase magical items from him to combat the creature of Darkwood Forest. "Oh, well, in that case, if you're interested in buying some of my merchandise, you had better come up. I am a Stromo." He then turns and slowly climbs the stone stairs. Will you follow him up the stairs, or draw your sword and attack him? Well, I really think attacking him would be very, very silly, and it would probably lead us to having a very, very early demise in this. So, I think following up the stairs is probably the best course of action here. Okay then. Ooh, many purchases we've got to have then, I see. You follow the huffing and puffing old man in his tattered robes up the spiral staircase to a large room at the top of the tower. Shelves, cupboards and cabinets line the walls, all filled with bottles, jars, weapons, armour, and all manner of strange artefacts. Stromo shuffles past the general clutter and slumps down into an old oak chair. He reaches into his top pocket and pulls out a fragile pair of gold-rimmed spectacles. Placing these on his nose, he picks up a piece of slate and chalk from the table next to his chair and begins to write frantically. He then hands you the slate, which I presume has all the potions on here. So we've got Potion of Healing, Potion of Plant Control, Potion of Stillness, Potion of Insect Control, Potion of Anti-Poison. And there's a variety of different objects here which I'll go through in a second as well, and ranging from holy water to nose filters. All items are either 2 or 3 gold. I'll come back to them in a second. He tells you that all the instructions for use are written clearly on the labels attached to the items, together with their suggested use. He sighs and tells you that unfortunately the magic in the items only works the once, but they are best used. But they are the best you can buy for the money. Stromo then asks you the reason for the purchase of the items, and you tell him your story and your decision to continue the quest of the luckless Bigleg. "Ah, yes," Stromo says slowly, rubbing his chin. "I heard that the good Dwarfs of Stonebridge had lost their fabled warhammer. Without it, their king is unable to arouse his people, despite the fact that the hill trolls threaten his village. Rumour has it that an envious king of another village of dwarfs sent an eagle to Stonebridge to steal this hammer, which had managed to do so. But as it flew over Darkwood, it was attacked by deathhawks, and the hammer dropped into the forest and was in fact lost. Apparently, 2 forest goblins found the hammer, but could not decide who was to keep it. They wrestled for hours but gave up. Then they discovered that the handle unscrewed from the head, and the argument was settled. One kept the head, the other kept the handle. Then they parted, each happy with his new treasure. Who knows if they still have them? So I'm afraid your problems are doubled. I can tell you that the head is made of bronze, and the handle is made of polished ebony. Both head and handle have the letter G inscribed on them. Your task is not easy. Good luck. You thank your Stromo and leave the room by the spiral staircase, but before we do that, let's have a look at the items. So I don't think a potion of healing would be any good for us because we've got enough provisions. We've got about 10 provisions, so they all restore 4 stamina points. And that's poignant for us to have a look at our character sheet now. So we've got the map of Darkwood Forest, potion of fortune, 10 provisions, backpack, leather armour and a sword, and 30 gold, but we'll be spending quite a bit of it here. We now know from your Stromo that the hammer is split into 2 parts, and 2 goblins have those parts supposedly. And we've got to find the hammer and take it to Gillibrand, or whatever that person's name is, because I've been pronouncing it about 2 to 3 different ways in this read through. But some dwarf, some chief or other at Stonebridge. So I reckon a potion of stillness that calms the drinker during stressful situations looks interesting, so I reckon we'll take one of those. Potion of anti-poison, probably a good idea in a forest, especially a deadly one, protecting us from various poisons. Let's have a look at the other items then, for now. I reckon a rope of climbing, magical rope that will help with climbing, perhaps with cliffs, faces and stuff. I reckon that'll be a good idea. Holy water, useful against undead creatures. I reckon that's a good idea as well, just in case we run into any undead. To say Forest of Doom after all. Net of entanglement, a magic net that will help snare unwary prey. Let's take one of those. Armband of strength. This armband increases the strength of the user's arm when worn. That'll be a good feature. Nose filters. These fit in your nostrils and will block odours. Probably good for the smell of the forest, perhaps. Garlic buds. Great for cooking and useful against vampires. I don't think we'll need that given we've got holy water, so we'll say no to that. Headband of concentration. Enables the wearer to focus solely on a single object despite any distractions. I think we're probably okay. Fire capsules, which will explode into fire when thrown. Nah. Rod of water finding would be quite useful, however, though, which will locate water in apparently dry places. I know a forest tends to be quite, fertile. I mean, how else the trees are meant to grow and things, but I reckon that might be helpful just in case we get in a spot of bother trying to find water. Or, for some reason, we lose our provisions. Okay, so where are we at the moment with items? So we've got 8 gold left, and we've got quite a few items now. I reckon Boots of Leaping makes us jump higher. I reckon Potion of Plant Control would also be very helpful as well. So we've got 4 gold, so what else should we have? I reckon we should keep one piece of gold. Have we got nose filters? Yes, we do. Let's get the headband of concentration as well. Right then, let's continue then, shall we? I reckon we've got 1 gold piece left. We've read this section now, so let's continue. Your task is not easy. Good luck. You thank your Stromo and leave the room by the spiral staircase. Turn to 177. Okay, this is our first decision in the forest now, guys. Let's begin. Outside in the bright light, you notice the dead quietness once again. A narrow path leads northwards from the tall grass surrounding Stromo's tower, into the dense undergrowth of Darkwood Forest. In a few strides, you are surrounded by the dark and tangled forest. Stones and knotted roots seem to hide in the shadows, and you can almost believe that they are trying to trip you up. The light fades quickly, and the air becomes moist and unpleasant. Deeper and deeper you go into the gloom. Eventually the path forks on either side of a huge old tree. Should we turn west or east? Okay. Left or right? My gut says west. Let's go west. Left has worked a few times before. With the exception of the last book, in a few entries. The narrow, overgrown path continues to weave its way through the crowded forest. Strange animals cry echoes through the trees. It's not long before you arrive at another junction in the path. If you wish to continue westwards, turn to 76, or if you'd rather turn north, turn to 147. Well, we chose west, let's continue west. The path suddenly turns right and proceeds northwards into the dense undergrowth. Turn 206. Suddenly, off the path to your left, you hear cries of help. If you wish to go and aid the person in trouble, turn to 253. Or, if you would rather ignore the cries and continue your journey north, turn to 187. Well, we're not evil, so, I mean, it's an aid of a person. We know the cries of help isn't a creature or like anything like growling or roaring, because I'm sure it would describe it as such in the entry here. So let's aid the person, I reckon, yeah? We are heroes after all, or meant to be. Some sort of cloaked figure. Clambering over the gnarled roots of the old trees, you head in the direction of the cries. After a few minutes, you see a man dressed in long dark robes, with his foot caught in a rusted rabbit snare. His face is masked by the robes, and only his dark brown eyes are visible. If you want to help the man free his foot from the snare, turn to 344. If you decide against helping him at all and return to the path and head north, turn to 187. The question is, do we trust this figure? He looks very sneaky. Looks like he's some sort of like thief, ninja or something or other like that. We have got quite a few items, which is quite nerving here, but it's possible, of course, that even if he does have that profession, he may be indebted to us in some way, especially if he's part of some sort of creed, maybe, or some sort of like, society. And if he helps us later in the book, I mean, that's quite helpful to have the guy on our side. Let's free his foot. You wedge your sword between the jaws of the snare and pull it on like a lever. The rope stranger adds his strength, and finally the snare springs open. He thanks you over and over again and explains that he is in the brother looking for his long-lost brother. He's in the forest looking for his long-lost brother, who he thinks is living in the life of a hermit somewhere in the depths. Together you scramble back over the roots of the trees to the path. You ask him to accompany you north, but he politely declines, saying that he believes his brother lives in the south. He shakes hands and you bid each other farewell. Ah, okay. Seems alright. Seems very civil, but didn't seem very... He said says he thanks us over and over again. He may help us. Who knows? Thinking about the robe stranger, you feel a little uncomfortable. There was something about his manner that you did not trust at all. You stop to take a look in your backpack and you are annoyed to find your small bag containing your gold is in fact missing. Oh gosh. You are in two minds whether or not to run after the thief, but you sense that he will not be going where he says he was. You curse and start off north again, turn to 187. There is a slight positive here, guys. We only had one gold piece anyway. A lot of the stuff we've already bought. So that's fine. We've only lost one gold piece and a little pouch, which is fine. That ain't actually too bad. But we have... Ah, yes, it even says on our knowledge look here. Hammer split into two parts. 2 goblins have those parts. And a snared man looking for a brother in the south. Excellent. Turn to 187. So it mentions it now in our knowledge, so maybe it will come back up at some point. Walking along the twisting path, you see a small creature with brown, scaly skin, sitting on a log to the right of the path. He has a sudden expression on his face and is slowly tossing a black shiny rod on a leather cord back and forth between his hands. He might be one of the goblins you are indeed looking for. Will you draw your sword and attack the goblin? Try to start a conversation with the goblin, or ignore him and continue walking north. Well, if we've got to go and fight against goblins, I mean, if the goblins have the hammer that we require, the 2 parts of the hammer that we need, we've got to at least try and speak to him, or at the very least attack him to make him speak. I think ignoring him would be very silly here. Maybe should we try and chat to him, perhaps? He may try and run away. But we can follow him, we can catch up. Goblins are quite small creatures. Let's try and start a conversation. As you start to speak, the goblin looks up and smiles. He then starts to metamorphose before your eyes. He becomes taller and turns green. A large spiny tail extends from his back. His arms thicken and his hands grow sharp claws. His face distorts and becomes a reptilian with red eyes, a wide mouth and dozens of razor-sharp teeth. He is not a goblin at all, but is a shape changer. You must fight. Okay, we're fighting a shape changer. And the skill of this shape changer is actually very high. It's 10 skill. Luckily, we've got masterful amount of skill. We've got 12 skills. We've got a +2 advantage against the shape changer. Now, to remind you on how the attacks work, the battles work in this book, we both roll 2 dice and we add our skill to the roll. The highest wins and takes off 2 stamina points of the opponent. We have got a huge advantage of stamina and skill as well. So let's try this. Yep, we hit the shape changer, 21 to 18. Rolled an 8 and he rolled a 4. So we hit him again. Good roll there, 22. Double 5. Slash the shape changer through the tail there. Both rolled a 7, I think, but we do have a +2 advantage, so we do hit it again. One more blow should do it. And again, we both roll a 6. Actually, the same roll exactly, 5 and 1, but again, +2 advantage. We are indeed triumphant. We do indeed win, so let's continue. You slump on the log, exhausted after your long battle. Sadly, the black rod was just a part of the shape changer's illusion, and it exists no more. However, you notice some violet mushrooms growing behind the log. They are unfamiliar to you, but look tasty. If you wish to eat some of the mushrooms, turn to 308. If you rather continue north, turn to 148. Well, there's been no reward for this combat here. The item in question it was part of the illusion. So maybe the mushrooms may be a form of help or some assistance or some reward for us defeating the creature. So let's try the mushrooms. On eating some of the mushrooms, you feel a great turmoil inside your body. You think you might be turning into a shape changer. At last you are relieved to feel the turmoil dying down. You have not become a shape changer at all, but in fact you have eaten mix-up mushrooms. Your skill score now becomes your luck score, and your luck score becomes your skill score. Feeling a little odd, you set off north again. Well, I don't think it actually affects us at all, actually, does it? Because we've actually... Yeah, we had 12 skill and 12 luck anyway, so even though the results have been switched, it's the exact same numbers for both stats, so it's not affected us at all, actually, interestingly enough. In most playthroughs, that would have affected it, even by just a couple of points. The path continues north, and you soon reach another junction. If you wish to continue north, turn to 97, or if you wish to go east, turn to 20. Let's go north. I reckon if you went east, we would have actually ended up if you remember the first entry we went west, and there was an option for us to go north before continuing going west to go north again. It may make us go that way again. Let's go north. The path leads ever northwards, but at last the trees are beginning to thin out and appears less menacing as daylight streams through between them. On the right hand side of the path you see an old oak chair covered with moss. If you have provisions and you wish to sit in a chair to rest and eat, turn to 328. Or would you rather press on northwards? Well, we have not had any damage whatsoever to our person, and our skill scores and luck scores are at max, so even if this old oak chair is a trap and reduces our skill or luck, there's no point. And if we can eat stamina points and stuff, eat our provisions rather, it'll affect our stamina points to none. So let's continue northwards. Okay then, let's do this entry. And perhaps after this entry we will call it a day for part 1. So we've got some image here. Out of the grass is some sort of cattle of sorts. The path eventually emerges from the trees onto a vast plain. Beyond you see rising ground leading to low hills. The waist-high grasses on either side of the path sway gently in the warm breeze. All is peaceful and the dangers ahead seem unimportant. You are enjoying your walk when suddenly the silence is broken by the sound of squealing and grunting to the right of the path. You can see a path being made through the grass by an unseen beast moving quickly towards you. You draw your sword in readiness. A few yards ahead of you is a large, brown, pig-like creature, bursts out onto the path and halts there. It has 2 long tusks protruding from a short, stubby snout. Steam rises into the air from its sweating body. Its small eyes look at you before it puts its head down to charge at you. It is a wild boar. You must fight. Another combat then? Let's fight the wild boar. So a lot weaker than our previous adversary, the shape changer. Only 6 skill and 5 stamina. So this should be quite an easy... So they actually rolled 2 higher than us, but because of our difference in skill, we still defeat the boar. We slash the boar again, and it's now very weak. Oh, max 6 there, 12. So we do in fact win. Quite easily in fact. As you draw your sword from the carcass of the wild boar, you wonder what made it attack you. In the distance you hear the sound of barking dogs. Perhaps it was being hunted and being trapped and made its last stand against you. Through the nose of the boar you see a large gold ring which you cut loose and place in your backpack. It is worth 10 gold pieces. You gain 1 luck point for your good fortune. Turn to 323. Wonderful. So we've got a gold ring here. Walking north, you soon arrive at a junction in the path. Quite a few directions we can go here, guys. We can either go north, west or east. I reckon we'll leave this entry for next time for part 2. Have a think on it. I hope you've been enjoying this playthrough so far of the Forest of Doom. As a reminder, there are other books that I've played through too. The Warlock of Firetop Mountain, the Book 1 series is in the description below, so feel free to have a look at the playlist there. I've also played through the Citadel of Chaos. I have also got a playlist on motivational videos, positivity, and all those vibes as well, if that interests you as well. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow against the algorithms of YouTube. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, yeah, please stick around. I'll be posting fairly regularly on YouTube, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Speak soon, and I will see you all around, I guess. Take care. Let's see if we can get through this book on our first playthrough. Take care. Bye.